Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe there, everybody. Please, please. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And then please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. Please like and subscribe, become my friend there. Santita Jackson and Friends, that's the only place where I could accept friendships. So many of you continue to go to Santita Jackson. Don't go there. It's a landing page, and they close us out at a certain number. So many people, new folks who are coming over, who are joining my Facebook family, you're getting kicked out. And I'm not doing it. That's what Facebook does automatically. And I don't want that to happen. So please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends fan page. I had to open up a fan page to accommodate the expanding family. Like some people, if you can, you get a bigger house or a bigger apartment. Okay, so there we go. Hey, easy peasy. Thank you for liking it, everybody. Robert, everybody, like the show, like the show, like the show. We have got Pastor Marshall Hatch from the New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church. Of course, your son oversees a program that has been, I guess, your collective brainchild, the Alpha Redemption Project. Got to have young Mr. Hatch on, really a growing theologian and minister. What a fantastic family you and First Lady Hatch have. Thank you for all of your service to our community down through the years. And of course, let me not ignore, I'm not ignoring, he is an alum of Rainbow Push. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Let me
By
say,
Reverend Jackson.
there you go. Let me say that. I'm sorry. I know you're looking at me like, are you nuts? You and Greg Mathis, Judge Mathis, do that to me all the time. You're like, what? And then, we've got someone who's new to the show. I'm so excited to have Camila Williams. She is a community organizer. She said, just call me a community organizer. I said, but no, you are with Good Kids, Mad City. You do such great work with our young people. Really, you are changing the narrative and defending them. And they do need defending because our children are being portrayed in ways that are really not them, and they're not being allowed to develop as fully as they need to develop. And someone who really helped me to pull this show together, I guess you'd have to be my producer today, Cassandra Greer Lee, the founder and director of the Nicholas Lee Foundation. I called you last night because I'd fallen asleep. I was so tired. So I had so much to do with all this going on. And I said, I want to take a different tack because I'm reading a lot of articles and it's taking me back to the beginning of this presidential odyssey of then Senator Kamala Harris. And many people wondered, when you talk to people in California, and I've got a lot of friends in Northern and Southern California, the pushback was always her prosecutorial record. And I think that if you support her, and I do, you bring that up. I think you always put your challenges, your vulnerabilities out there first. That's something that I've learned from Reverend Jackson, Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. You don't lead with your strength. You lead with your challenge. You get beaten up on that, and then you go from strength to strength to strength. But plus it strengthens you, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to have a rethink about what I did here. I don't know. So I want to know from you, everybody, please like and share, and please get in the chat, everybody. Like and share, get in the chat, and let's talk about this prosecutorial record. Let's talk about it. Because now the headlines are, did she incarcerate too many Black men? And that indeed is one of the first prongs of attack that the GOP are launching against her. I mean, as they have been able to pull Black men into the fold. I mean, Reverend Hatch, let me just start with you, Pastor Hatch. Because many people say, because I'm now in a lot of different media spaces, and when you say, well, when people ask you, has President Trump made, wait, I'm getting some feedback from someone. Everybody put yourselves on mute. Okay, very good. Except you, Pastor Hatch, because I'm coming right to you. I would hear rumblings that her prosecutorial record was going to be a challenge. Now, prosecutors are going to have challenges, right? Because just it's the nature of the job. But they said, just as people said that Hunter Biden would be then Vice President Biden's vulnerability, they said this can be hers. Now, I mean, we're watching a romance period, quite frankly, for the corporate media. And we know romances, the good times do wear off and the real work begins when y'all get married. Ooh. And so I want to know, not against marriage, y'all. I'm totally with it, feeling it. I'm hearing you. But I'm simply saying that there hot things cool off. And I think we have to really step back and see, what the perception is in the community, because we have a couple of different conversations. Pastor Hatch, you and I were talking, we were all talking about this before we came on the air. We're hearing a lot of discussion about her being a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Okay, she can't be perfect. I'm a Delta, I get it. But and she went to Howard University, HBCU. She hit that one on the head. Thank you very much. We attended Howard at the same time,
Mm.
and so I've known her a long time. And in fact, someone I pledged, uh, they are best friends. So we've been in each other's orbit for a long time, and I think she's a wonderful person. That having been said, we're talking about politics now, and you kind of have to put that off to the side and say what are we looking at, because because the conversation about the Divine Nine and black colleges and college itself is really a conversation that we're not hearing on the ground, because most Americans don't go to college and even fewer black folks go to college. And when you get to college, uh, many a few of us only a few of us get into sororities and fraternities. So you're talking about like a sliver of black life, not all of black life, but it's black life. But I'm hearing another conversation. I'm hearing different conversations, even as we go through this historical moment, Pastor Hatch.
Yeah, there's a class distinction that we don't often recognize in the African American community, and this is one of those sort of fault lines of those who've gone to colleges and universities, and then the culture of black fraternities and sororities. I'm a Phi Beta Sigma. I didn't know
Divine Nine.
I didn't know what any of this was. I was 2 years out of public housing when I went to college, and the way that I processed it was, these are like street gangs for college guys. Uh, so it was something I wasn't familiar with. And so there's this class distinction that's going to be pronounced. So when you talk about the African American men and the sort of um, uh, those that come out of the communities and the barbershops and so on, that may not have that kind of exposure to ever gone to college, or upper middle class African American families, drifting toward or looking at the Republican Party, looking at Donald Trump in particular. That is entirely true, and it shows this class distinction that we probably at some point need to address in the black community. It's not monolithic, and so some of that is going to be brought out in this campaign as we take a closer look at the black community, and this very I want to say pronounced disconnect in terms of class distinctions in black communities. That's going to become manifest, and this is going to bring it out.
So is that what we're seeing in part today? Do you think
Absolutely. Yeah,
that
yeah.
a discussion that you're hearing?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
African American males in the community, some of them with uh, uh, backgrounds in terms of criminal justice system, having served time, ex-offenders, returning citizens, uh, have a very different point of view on, and some resentment, in terms of the class distinction. The African Americans who gone to college, or have done better in the system, there's going to be some incredible resentment that's going to become clear that people have at the what I call at the bottom of the empire, that people have access to. And so, I can't make an assumption that everybody in my congregation is going to be on the Harris train, because that's not going to be entirely true.
So, Cassandra Greer Lee, of course, many of us know her in Chicago, and we should know her, Pastor Hatch, all around the country, because at the beginning of the pandemic, she was fighting for her husband. At the beginning of the pandemic, we did not know Attorney Jones and Camila Williams, how this was passed around. You began to feel this airborne, everybody masked up, and we shut the country down. So she was fighting for Nicholas Lee, and she was appealing uh, to Sheriff Dart. Please, he's not feeling well. Long story short, he did die of COVID. And so, but this ignited something in her, and she has absolutely become a fierce advocate for not just those who are locked in, who are incarcerated, but for anyone on the downside of advantage. She's always pulling these movements together, and I just thank God for her. She just dropped off. Well, okay, I'm going to bring her back on, but we'll do that. But Camila, you have done the same. Good Kids, Mad City. So many of our children get caught in the system. What are you hearing? Are you hearing, what are you hearing about Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, and this candidacy?
So for me personally, if the election was today or tomorrow, I wouldn't vote for her. And my reason is because, like Pastor Hatchett said, was that it is a true disconnect, right? We
Mm-hmm.
fight every day, we protest, we rally, we reach out to our lawmakers, and they have been a serious disappointment to us, right? One of our big issues is violence prevention. Another big issue is policing, and we are told election after election after election, we're going to get to it, we're going to help y'all, and then it's excuses, right? So now people are tired. Young people are waking up like, I'm losing friends left and right. I don't know where to go to for help, and y'all expect me to support and vote for these people who lied in my face? And there's a serious disconnect because it's like the ones that are raving and ranting about her, especially these elected officials in Illinois, has failed their constituents drastically. And we don't even have faith and hope in the system. So I'm actually seeing the rah rah raving, but I'm actually hearing people like, I'm not gonna vote. I,
Really?
I'm not. And they say, yes, we get it about Project 2025. And, people are saying to us what the worst can happen. But I'm like, you can't tell somebody who lost their parents, who lost their children, who have absolutely nothing, that what's the worst can happen. And this is conversations that I've been having with the Democratic Party leadership in this state for a while. Y'all not energizing folks. Y'all are re-traumatizing people. Y'all are being selfish. Y'all don't listen. And they was like, okay, well, that's just how it is. And then they blame it on the Republicans. We like, where's the fight? Where's the fight?
That's Camila Williams, everybody, from Good Kids, Mad City here in Chicago. And we're bringing this up today because, Dawn, you said, oh boy, here we go again. And you said, just vote. She said, ma'am, just vote for the convicted felon, DJT, and the rapist. Well, technically, he's not a rapist. He was convicted civilly, not criminally. We have to be very careful about that and very specific. Not saying that he didn't do wrong. I'm just simply saying to you, be very, very careful, because we don't want to be referred to in ways that are slanderous. That having been said, is there anything, Camila, is there any appeal that she could make to you um, that would make a difference? Because we also know, Attorney Jones, and you were a prosecutor, um, and you are also a freedom fighter. And it's interesting. Johnny Cochran went into went into the system and became a prosecutor so he can come out and become a defense attorney. He said, I can't defend you if I don't know the system. So I'm gonna go in and learn it. And he just became the best that we've seen, you know, in terms of criminal defense, winning the unwinnable cases. So there's a place for prosecutors. Um, is there anything, Camila, that she is there any appeal that she could make to you that would make a difference? Because I've been pulling all of these articles, and everyone is blaming her for they're saying that she's done real damage to Black Americans. And I just I want to I'm not judging. I'm not coming from a place of judgment because I want you to be here and share with us uh, what your thinking is, because it's Pastor Hatch and Attorney Jones and Cassandra Greer Lee. We're not hearing this in corporate media. And in fact, in the next hour, we will have Reginald Geist, the forgotten one. That's what he is called. He is a man who is serving, he will have to serve out his natural life in prison for a non-violent drug offense. But he supports Kamala Harris. But he should be freed under a policy that was set forth by Donald Trump. It's it's a mixed bag, Pastor Hatch.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, so Camila, is there anything she could say to you, or is there any policy that she could say that I'm going to fight for when I become president that would change your mind?
To be honest with you, the trust has been lost. I mean,
Oh,
she's not new to this. She was a U.S. senator. She heard of the black issues. She seen it, and then you were 4 years watching us beg. That's all we do is beg. The trust has been lost with the Democratic Party.
okay. Would you be inclined to vote for Donald Trump?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I will vote.
Okay. Maybe third party, or will you skip the presidential line altogether?
Possibly.
Okay.
And that's just my truth. And we need to start speaking our truth
Hmm.
about how we really feel, because they have always told us when Trump get out of office, we're going to help you. We voted for Biden. We got this. President Biden, we voted for him, and then it's still no nothing. My biggest issue right now is the policing across the country,
Hmm. Okay.
and no movement.
You know what? Look, I'm telling you, and that's why I wanted you here today, Pastor Hatch. Before I come to you, Cassandra Weir, let me bring on Attorney Daryl Jones, who you are a former prosecutor. I think it's important to hear these conversations because we're not hearing them in corporate media, Pastor Hatch. We're just hearing, I mean, people I went to school with, quite frankly. But because of my lived experience coming out of the church and coming with the nature of my father's ministry, and your father, as your children know, is not just your father of you married a minister, you and your wife, your family's in ministry. Thank you, Pastor Hatch. Thank you so much. Because that's how it works. So our lived experience means that we are hearing from a whole lot of people, hey, your son went to the University of Chicago. But most people in his neighborhood, I'm not even white. University of Chicago. Whoa, what's that? Where is that? I mean, and if once they hear about it, do you have the grades? Do you have the scores to get in? I mean, it's a whole universal way. But you all have stayed anchored in the community. And I think we need to hear this conversation, Pastor Hatch, and hear from Camila and the Camilas out here, because they're the people, Attorney Jones. Those are the votes. That's most of Black America. I'm not saying most of Black America holds that view, but we can't ignore.
And good morning, Santita. Good morning to Camellia. Thank her for, certainly thank her for speaking her view and her voice. One of the things about, and you're absolutely right, I'm a former prosecutor. I guess I followed the Johnny Cochran model, right? I was a prosecutor for a number of years and became a criminal defense attorney, and also have done the elected official side. So I have a complete appreciation for what Camellia, I think, is saying. I don't think that she is speaking against a prosecutor that becomes an elected official. That's not what I hear her saying. What I heard her say, I believe, was that she was despondent with regards to the positioning of the Democratic Party and some of the elected officials that she has taken issue with them not doing enough to address issues of her concern. One of the things that I'm really inspired by with what Camelia had said, though, is this: is that she's still going to vote, and she's going to vote down ballot. And many of the issues that she's identified when you're dealing with policing issues, you're dealing with the mayor. You're dealing with someone that's selecting the chief of police. That's making those types of determinations. You're dealing with electing the judge. You're dealing with electing the prosecutor. All of those issues are the down ballot issues that Camelia, from what she has said and I have heard, are issues that she has touched upon. And I believe that what I at least interpreted her to say, and I may be incorrect, is that she is looking for federal officials that back up the positions that she's taken on the local levels, that giving them the standing that they need, the positioning that they need to be able to address more change for the Good Kids Bad City type program that she's running. And I think that's a very valid position. And I think that, she certainly should be going to taking the opportunity, if she has it, to go to many of those elected officials that are in the federal positions or state level positions, and certainly, airing that concern. Now, what does that mean for Vice President Harris or anyone else that's running for the presidency? Well, I mean, I think a couple of things you have to balance out of that. One of the things that you raised, Santita, and you were 100% on point, and I think Camilla also
right.
Camilla also raised it, was looking at the policy. What does Project 2025 have to do with the policing and the enforcement of policing? Well, in essence, what Project 2025 does is this: is that when you're in jurisdictions where there's a sanctuary city and you have a migrant crisis, and the prosecutors say, I'm not going to I'm not going to deport people that are convicted of these crimes. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put them in line for deportation. I'm not going to, if you're in Alabama or one of the really harsh abortion banning states, and then you're in Montgomery, and the Montgomery prosecutor in Montgomery, Alabama says, I'm not going to prosecute folks that get an abortion. I'm not going to prosecute the doctors. Well, what Project 2025 does is it says, if you prosecutor don't prosecute them, we're having federal prosecutors coming to all of those jurisdictions, and they're going to prosecute you. They're going to prosecute the person getting the abortion. They're going to prosecute the doctor. That's what Project 2025 does. So while I appreciate that, the policy of some of the elected officials isn't going as far, isn't as effective, they're not necessarily doing as much as she would like them to do. I certainly would like to, encourage people to do it with the knowledge of the policy differences, and certainly let that weigh in your decision. But the most important thing is that Camille has indicated that she's still going to vote. She's still going to vote down ballot, and that's going to hit the issues that's important to her. And I would just encourage people to to certainly look at the complete policy decisions and making those decisions.
Let's open up the conversation. And Dawn, just to be clear, no one was mispronouncing Vice President Kamala Harris's name. You've got Kamala and you have got Camila here. We were just trying to make sure that we pronounced her name correctly. And indeed, while many of us might feel an affection and a familial closeness with Vice President Kamala Harris, we really give her the respect that her title deserves. And so she's the vice president here. And so we might slip up and call her Kamala, but we're clear. We are clear on the pronunciation of her name. Although one of my dear girlfriends is named Kamala, but her family, they're from Cuba. So, hey y'all, let's relax. And she's the vice president. She's the VP. Cassandra Greer Lee, what are you thinking about this candidacy and this headline? Oh wow, Black Americans should hold the adoration. Kamala Harris has done real damage. This is from the Miami Herald, and there are so many headlines like this. And indeed, the GOP are saying we're going to attack her on the mass incarceration of black men, although that didn't come from her. I mean, honestly, that came from President Biden when he was a senator. He pushed for that. Uh, President Clinton pushed for that. But quite frankly, it's been unitary. Both parties have been pushing for the incarceration of black men. Indeed, when we were freed from slavery, what was tucked into that constitutional amendment was this: once you get arrested and go to prison, you become a slave again.
Absolutely.
So this ain't new, y'all. Cassandra.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are your feelings and what are your thoughts about um, about Vice President Harris and her run for the presidency?
Well, I'm torn because, of course, by me being a black woman, I would love to post and, rally behind and support, but I fight for black and brown men that are incarcerated wrongfully, over sentenced, that are suffering back there, like my husband did. And I'm trying to make sure that no one else have the same fate that my husband had. So it's very hard for me to rally behind Miss Harris when I know that she played a vital role in the mass incarceration of black and brown men. And I talk to them, daily, and I've asked them, how do they feel? And, a lot of them, they made great points. They like, Cassandra, if she become the president, we know a lot of those bills and issues are probably going to be dead because they feel like if she locked us up already and you're pushing, for bills to help reform or, release us, she probably want, let those bills pass, or she probably won't support those bills. And I understand their way of thinking because if you were a former prosecutor and you have a history, or you're rumored to have a history of incarcerating black and brown men in enormous numbers, I would be afraid as well.
Is that what you're hearing? I mean,
Absolutely, from
what are
from
the
especially from the men behind the walls. Yes, that's one of
so
the main reasons why. Let me tell you, Reginald Geis is
uh
abnormal back there. He's abnormal. I think he's the only one back there that's saying yes, go. He supports her. Everybody else is like, oh no, we're doomed.
they're doomed?
They feel like, you know, uh, we, nothing. We're not gonna get anything. Like we're gonna be back here.
Hmm. So everybody, please weigh in on the chat. We want to hear from you. Please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, like and subscribe there. And the Santita Jackson and Friends page. I'm also sharing this on X. On X, everybody. We're streaming on Twitter right now. Chaparral said, Daryl, we just witnessed the police execute Sonia Massey. Wow, on video. That is horrific. And in fact, attorney C.K. Hoffler is involved in that case. Black people are still being killed by the police. We need reform and protection now. And if they want to win, these laws need to be implemented. Uh, one of our frequent guests, Robert Patillo, attorney Robert Patillo, Pastor Hatch, said, you know what? Before President Biden leaves off, what he could do right now, just right now, is just have a stack of executive orders that he signs, like right now. Of course, they'd be ended when his presidency ends, but people have been looking for an executive order for voting rights, for police reform, and on and on and on. Um, because we are hearing, I'm not hearing this conversation. I hear it, but it's not being projected, right? In corporate media, Pastor Hatch. But these are very real thoughts and feelings. And when people say, uh, Attorney Jones, that blacks are just going to sit at home, they're not just going to sit at home. They're protesting. Now, are they protesting in a way with which I agree? No, because there are so many races. If you object to a prosecutor, or if you want a progressive prosecutor, you got to vote them in. But they also have to campaign, because we need to know who you are. And then once they get in, you gotta march and do everything you can to keep them in, so you don't have Marilyn Mosby thrown under the bus, which is what happened to her. This was political. Kim Fox thrown under the bus. It just happens over and over. That happened to the prosecutor in San Francisco. So, Pastor Hatch, what can we do to close this gap? Because it's a real gap, and it's not being projected. Or do you think I'm making a mistake here, Pastor Hatch?
No, it's the book I think Eugene Robinson wrote a few years ago. The disintegration of the black community is one that I thought think is a good lens, and he suggests there are like six black communities,
Mm.
and there's the super elite, all the way down to those who are part of the underclass, and they live in different worlds, and they have different perspectives, and so there's not a cohesive black community.
Mm.
They're distinct black communities, and what to do about that is part of the conversation I think we had yesterday. We need institutions that look, comprehensively at the conditions of African Americans, and then suggest some real policy positions, what we normally call an agenda in the black community. Because if we're talking about policing, if we're talking about the criminal justice system, of course that disproportionately affects those of us who find ourselves, at the bottom of the power dynamic, and it's immediate. But it doesn't suggest anything about the entrepreneurial spirit in the black community, the building of businesses, the building of families, the values of which some of the attractiveness of the Republican Party has to do with the black community has some fundamentally socially conservative elements to it. And so we really have to, I think part of yesterday we were talking about, rebuild these institutions. When we had these conference of civil rights organizations or something, but something that looks comprehensively, that can produce an agenda that deals with immediate needs, but also has some kind of vision of what it looks like, to recreate community. People are looking back at, segregation almost romantically, because, the black community was economically integrated. It was forced to be economically integrated, but you had people who were striving families that have incredible challenges, but we all lived in the same community.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true anymore. And we live in different worlds. And so what leadership has to do is to try to figure out ways to create a tent big enough to create some sense of peoplehood that allows us to think comprehensively about what an agenda might look like, because you really can't hold politicians accountable unless you have some very specific agendas and some very powerful, mass organizations that connect people together.
We're talking about Vice President Harris. It's Harris for president now. And she now has enough votes to be confirmed as the nominee. Congratulations to her. I'm wondering if they're going to um, nominate, well, not just nominate her, affirm her nomination and make her the nominee. Virtually, there's a lot of discussion about that. Hope that they don't do that. I hope they come to Chicago. I think that's important, because too much of this stuff has happened virtually. Daryl Jones and Pastor Hatch. No, I mean, it's just at some point, either we're going to have a democracy or not. You can't just lock this away and have a group voting on things. I mean, I think that becomes probably we're slipping down, we're sliding down a slippery pole. This pole is greased, And we didn't like it when we were locked out. But now that we have a way in, somehow or another, it's okay. And that's not good. It's not, certainly that is not what I fought for. I didn't want my father put on a bulletproof coat and vest for this. No. Either we're gonna have a democracy or not. We got to do that. Camila, what do you want? Just give me a 2 or 3 things that you want a president to do. What do you want them to fight for, and what are you willing to push them to do? Because once you vote them in, remember, they become president of the people, even over the people who did not vote for them. And these people try to become their very best friends. Can I get an amen? Yes, you know that's how it works. So even when she gets in, should she win, we've got to compete with a whole lot of different people.
So, so
Yeah,
one
Camila.
thing I mean I'm going to stand firm on is the police accountability piece, and pushing the DOJ to do what they need to do. Um, Simple. I mean we've had for years the police accountability packet. George Floyd Act was okay, but after a while they kept watering it down and watering it down and watering it down to it really had no real substance. So for me, the biggest piece is the police accountability piece in this country.
Why is that the biggest piece?
Because I mean, there's no trust between the community and the police. Period.
Mhm.
If I'm scared to call the police because you're gonna kill me, I'm not gonna call you when I see something else. If I see a crime or anything,
Do you think you encounter or are police more thoroughly integrated in your life than you say let's just say the Cosby family? Remember the Cosby Show? Because it almost feels like a certain group of Black people, Pastor Hatcher, are living under occupation.
I mean, they everywhere in our community. I mean, they're
Hmm.
forced on us. They're in our schools. They in our churches. They're everywhere in our community. And
Hmm.
when we try to say, go to the commanders or the superintendents to hold them accountable, oh well, we can't because it's this policy that's blocking it. We have officers that's going from really city to city in this state who have multiple bodies on them, and there's nothing that can be done. Nothing right now.
So for you, the police issue really is a matter of life and death.
Absolutely. We just seen it in Springfield.
Okay. No, it's you know what, Camila? We have to. Part of the reason I wanted you here, Pastor Hatch, is we've got to amplify the voices of the Camilas out here because your reality is not something that people, uh, Attorney Jones, are amplifying. We're amplifying a reality that many of our people do not live. And we have to be sensitive to that. We really, really do. Camila,
And
yes?
can I say this,
Of
because I
course.
am reading the comments, we have been at this table for a while. I mean, I've been pushing many congressional people. We met with the Police Accountability Task Force that's made up of Republicans and Democrats together. It's just always been excuses after excuses after excuses. I've seen the DOJ of 2017 come in and convict Michael Sludger under the Color of Code law. But I've sat and watched under Biden's admin, President Biden's admin, and President Obama's admin tell these families across the country, their DOJ departments, that there's no charges that they can be filed. And we like, are you serious? So we have been trying to do all we can, and we're tired. These numbers are terrible right now. So I mean, my heart goes out to the Matthews family, but
Mm,
it's other families that we don't even know about
absolutely.
that's fighting, that's getting not no charges, not guilty. Two, Dante Servin was the first acquitted. Jason Van Dyke, 81 months. We pressed the Democratic Party to send letters after that sentence. They told us wait until his sentence is almost up. 2020, we asked them for letters. We were told we can't, they can't be seen advocating to lock somebody up because this is a restorative justice state. I have that by a top elected official. And then when we talked to some prosecutors, they said, oh, the statute of limitation ran out because the DOJ should have stepped in the night that Laquan was murdered. So they was playing in our face the whole time.
See, I mean, Daryl, what should be the response now? I mean, because Daryl is the chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition. He and Barbara Arnwine really have no peers in terms of fighting for our right to vote, fighting to protect our vote, and getting people registered to vote. Um, but this is kind of what we're up against. It's important to hear these stories because we had a young man killed. What was he shot 95 times? And how many seconds was it, Pastor Hatch?
47 seconds. And we also had a young man, Calvin
Yeah.
Cross, who was shot 31 times. And the DOJ said the ruling came down too late, the statute of limitations. So the only punishment they got from CPD was a 30-day suspension from lying on a police report. And this man, Calvin Cross, he's dead 31 times. The DOJ said the police officers acted with every disregard of life. And this happened in Chicago. So we're tired.
See, Attorney Jones, uh, I hear these stories all the time because George Floyd, Miss Massey, these are the bright line stories. There is a reason this young lady, was it Miss Frazier, 17 years of age, walking her 9-year-old cousin to the store in Minneapolis. Um, there's a reason that she told her cousin, go in the store and don't stay there until I come and get you. And she pulled out that phone and started recording, live streaming George Floyd getting choked to death because at 17, her lived experience told her that that was going to happen. I mean, and so, you can't sing Happy Days are Here again to Camila and to Cassandra, who lost her husband, who was begging, say, hey, you got to treat him. You have him out in general population. He's got all the symptoms of COVID. Then he dies, and you say, well, okay. Well, he was in jail anyway. Hey, Attorney Jones, what do we do?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that are going on, and I think that what Camila has laid out, is really just incredible. Uh, Let me first address because she had spoken about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and that
Mhm.
was one of the acts that never got passed. And she's absolutely right. Tim Scott got a hold of it, and they started watering it down and watering it down and watering it down, and nothing ever came of it. And Senator Cory Booker, who was sort of spearheading it and trying to work on it with the Republican Tim Scott, in my estimation, he did the best that he could, that is Senator Booker, but it ended up him getting played and nothing coming of it. I agree 100% with regards to the actions that need to be taken with the Department of Justice. And whoever is the Attorney General that will be appointed will be making a lot of those decisions with regards to how the Department of Justice operates. And I'm assuming that in some of the cases that Camila was laying out, that it went to the Civil Rights Division, and that the Civil Rights Division, I assume, decided not to pursue charges against the police officers. Um, all of that again is it will begin from the Attorney General, and the Attorney General that is appointed by the President. And so one of the things that we've got to be certain to do is that we may not get the perfect Attorney General that we want, that will rule as we want that person to rule and administer the office. But I don't think that the answer is to just say whoever gets it gets it. I'm not going to be involved in it. I think that we've got to keep our hands to the till and trying to do what we can to put in place the best Attorney General that will have policies that have impacts on our communities that we can. Simply because we don't vote for a president doesn't mean there won't be an attorney general, right? Doesn't mean that there won't be policies that impact us. But we've got to put ourselves in a position where we can have some influence on the policies that are being put in place, so that we can, certainly, have impact with regards to the civil rights division and the cases that they bring. Well, one of the things that we do, for instance, in Maryland, is that we have a meeting, a quarterly meeting with our governor to go over issues of concern to the African American community, because we want to be certain we have the one-on-one so that the executive branch understands what we're experiencing and from other branches of government, the impact of decisions that are being made, and what impact can the governor have. A similar type of approach, I would think, would be something that would be open for whoever the next president would be, is to have that group of people, and you can have citizens such as Camelia on there, and having that one-on-one with whoever it is, so they can understand the impact that's there, and trying to move the Attorney General's office, move the Department of Justice to make decisions, to take on cases, and to understand what's going on. Because I agree wholeheartedly with most of what's been said with regards to whether it's Sandra Massey or the unnamed people that have been slaughtered by bad policing. But we've got to come up with a response to it. Our response can't always be, and part of our response should be, demanding that the Department of Justice act. But if they don't act, then the question is, what do we do? Do we go to the streets? I think part of that has got to be, we've got to pull in the elected official, pull in whoever the representative is for the president to sit down and have the conversation at the table. Make them answer to the question of why these things are not happening. Why is it that you're not prosecuting these officers? Why is it that you're not responding to our requests and our demands? So I think that's a part of the answer. I know, and I'm very impressed with the fact that, with Camelia, that she speaks of going to the members of Congress, the members of the elected officials that are there, and trying to bring it to their attention and hold them accountable. I don't think we stop there. We have to continue to do that. We have to be certain that that we have the elected officials that are responsive to the needs of the community, and that's their ultimate responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And the members of Congress that are there are also some of the ones that should be setting up the meetings with the Attorney General's office. So they should be some of the ones that are having their own meetings, pressing the issue with the Attorney General. So I think we've got to be certain that we're going at it from all of those angles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also one of the discussions, Santita, that should be had with Vice President Harris of what will her Attorney General do? What does her Department of Justice look like? These are issues that are occurring in the community that she will be representing. Give assurances that the Department of Justice is going to be dealing with these issues. That's one of those community forums. It's great to see them going out across the country, doing all the campaign rallies. Come to the community and have that conversation. Talk to us that way.
Well, and explain to us what these offices in government do. And it's not lost on me that your governor is Wes Moore, who is a conscious a conscious Black man, who has really been trying to do a lot of outreach into the community. I have very close friends who live in Maryland, and one of whom who's in his administration, and that's good. But Cassandra, you have some immediate needs right now, and and there is some pain that you need to have spoken to right now. We're going to have Reginald Geis, everybody, in the next hour. He is serving a life sentence for a non-violent drug crime. He should be out now under a program that, quite frankly, that President Trump started. But when you hear why he has not been released, you will demand that he be released. You will demand that he be released. Isn't it ironic, Pastor Hatch, Daryl Jones, Camila Williams, and Cassandra Greer Lee? They don't do drug raids on college campuses.
Hello? That's
And
right.
I promise you, they could arrest a lot of folks, but they don't. And
That's right.
that's a class thing. We got to deal with that. Cassandra,
Yes.
As we begin to close things out and move into the next hour, where we're going to be speaking with Reginald Geisens and some others, um, what do you want us to know?
Well, I would just like for Miss Harris to just address the issues uh, that or our concerns. Just tell us what she planned on doing because, like Camilla said, we have been lied to so much. President Biden ran on a progressive campaign. He told us all of these things that he planned on doing, like ending solitary confinement, all of these things. He did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And, we just want we want to them to stop lying. Just do what you say you're going to do. We know that her job as a prosecutor, as a attorney general, she had to prosecute. We know that. But such a large number of black and brown men, where does the reform come in at? Where what other, what else do she have in place for them besides incarceration, mass incarceration? We just want to know what's the next step, or we know that was her job then, but now we just want to know moving forward, moving forward. Just address these issues and let's move forward. That's all.
It answer the questions. Um, Camila, your final thoughts?
I echo what Cassandra has said. Just tell us what you're gonna do. Um,
Well, wait a minute. Let me stop you right there, because see, she wants you to employ her. You need to tell her what you want her to do, if I may say that. Um,
yeah, I mean we
yeah.
that's the problem.
No, but no, no, no.
We
I'm saying
have been
continue. You got,
yeah.
because
Okay, gotcha,
it's just like the Lord's prayer. You got to say it every day, and
gotcha,
it still probably won't make sense to you until you are about to meet the Maker. you,
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
you gotta. It This political process is not a one and done.
Oh
This is
yeah, I know.
something that and you know this because you're an organizer.
Yes,
Voting is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. On After you elect someone, that's why when my brother Jesse was in Congress, he was literally out. He'd be out on 95th and State holding up a sign. He'd be going from L line to L line. Even at the first time he was in a snowstorm, and it was so momentous that they took a picture of it, and it became an international picture. They were like, "What are you doing out here?" He said, "I have to thank them. I wouldn't have won had it not been for them." And so I'm just saying, don't wait on her. You do it.
got you. And
You
and
hear me?
one thing that Good Kids Mad City, we was blessed with the opportunity to have spaces at the White House already when it comes to violence prevention. So it's not like we're not communicating with that
Okay.
leadership already. It's the fact that they're not listening.
Well, you know
That's
what? Organize some more marches.
all
My
we do. We
friend.
we do we
Yeah.
do, and they lock us up and they put
And that's
charges on us.
okay. That,
Yeah,
that's okay. You catch a case. That means you're a freedom fighter.
we got
Good for you.
plenty, plenty.
Good for you.
So thank you.
If you haven't been in the back of a paddy wagon, you have not done anything.
Oh, I got banned from DC from 6 months. So
I
yes, because
mean,
I
but
was
wait a
locked up.
minute. Is that not crazy, Daryl Jones? I mean, they
I
have the laws in Washington for protest are draconian. You
yes,
can't protest there, Pastor Hatch.
I got
Mm.
locked up from being in the rotunda for protesting,
They
and
banned you from the city.
I was locked up for 13 hours. We was
Mm.
protesting about gun violence, and I was supporting allies, and we were locked up. That's how I know that January 6th incident, it was an inside job, because the minute we hit that rotunda, they put us in handcuffs, and we was with the Capitol Police.
Come on now.
So
And
we
and
doing what we need to do.
okay, so stop talking about conspiracies. We have some lived experiences here, Pastor Hatch.
Absolutely. And
The
I,
last minute belongs to you.
no, I just appreciate the panel and the truth that the communities that we're in, are literally occupied by the police.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a lived reality. You know, the services of the police are horrible, and
Mm-hmm.
all of us shudder, you know, to think of what would have happened in the Sonia Massey case had there not been videotape.
Oh my
He
gosh.
would have got away. This is somebody that's been in 6 departments, 2 DUIs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is a catastrophe waiting to happen, and it is a catastrophe when we see what happened to Sonji. And so, but this is more common than we want to believe. It
Well,
really is.
well, that's why I wanted to have this conversation today, because if my friends who work for Kamala Harris are listening, and I'm going to send this to them, I want this week. I'm not here to bury her. I'm trying to lift her up. And I'm more than that, I'm trying to lift my community up, because it's not, I've got to do Channel 11 and PBS tonight. And the thing is, individual wins are great, but I need a collective win. Me can't win. We got to win. That's it. That's it. And that's what we've got to fight for. This is a sobering moment. This is great. And I'm glad to see one of us lifted up. But it takes Black women 21 months to make what a white man makes of similar skill in 12. You need to talk to
Mm.
me about that. We are projected to have negative wealth as Black families in the next few years. Come on. So let's click over to the second hour, everybody. Because this is, let me tell you something, Dawn, this is a unitary party. Okay, really. Two wings of the same bird. You got to fight them all, because nothing changes. But this has got to change. Let me get on over here, because I got Reginald Geist waiting for us. And come on, Cassandra, everybody, y'all, come on. Let's go on and get this. Let's get this party started. Election 2024 is in the mix. The Santita Jackson Show, everybody, here on AM 950 Radio. See you in the second hour.